Welcome to the Dawgs Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Justin Charles and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Fantasy Football Podcast. Josh and Justin coming to you guys virtual today, and we want to dive into the next of our divisional breakdowns. Today, we're going to do NFC North. I'm sorry, because last week we did AFC North, so we're going to keep it in the North, finish that one out now over in the NFC side of things, and we're going to break down a little bit of news as training camps have all kicked off this week. I don't know, Justin, if you've got a couple news and things from training camp, maybe off the spot that come to mind or anything, but we've got contracts to talk about. We've got Tua getting paid, Jordan Love getting paid. Football's here. I mean, we're going to be fantasy drafting in like 4 weeks or so. I'm sure other people have it early August. I always try to push drafts as late as humanly possible. Yes. I know some people that do it like the Thursday during the day before that Thursday night football kickoff. I mean, that's crazy, but
it's risky.
It is.
It's risky.
It is, but at least you've got the most up-to-date information.
True. Absolutely. I always shoot for that week in between the last preseason game and then the week. Yeah. Usually that weekend, I'm probably doing like 3 or 4 fantasy drafts. Like that Saturday or Sunday is just I'm trying to get to as many live drafts as I can, and then I'm on my phone also drafting probably during that.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets kind of crazy, but that's what it's all about. Yeah. So before we dive in, everybody, just make sure you guys hit that notification bell on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. 5-star reviews on the audio platforms as well. That goes a long way to helping us out. And just, if you guys want to follow us on the socials, we are active. We are at the Dawgs Fantasy on X, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you guys want to find us. So go check it out. Let's start with Tua. Because chronologically, Tua Tagovailoa got paid before Jordan Love, correct? Mm-hmm. Am I getting that right? So Tua down in Miami gets a 4-year, $212 million contract to be the Dolphins franchise quarterback. And I know for a few years, there were some question marks whether or not Tua was the guy. Could he stay healthy? Were they going to invest in him long term? They were trying to trade for Deshaun Watson, all that kind of stuff. So they are now committed and locked into riding it out with Tua.
Yep. I think and it's probably a smart bet for them. As far as like an organization goes, you've got a young guy, franchise guy. The offenses look great, for the most part. In great Miami weather, it clicks. That thing can go. He's got all the weapons around him as far as offensively. And then, like you said, the biggest question with him was health. Like, he had that, especially the Cincinnati game where, you watch a guy get carted off the field and everything. It's like, geez, maybe his career is over. So I'm glad that he had the nice bounce back year. Biggest thing though is, for him and the organization is health. But I mean, if he's playing, he's pretty solid. He's a QB1.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, NFL passing leader last year. So in a contract year when he's looking for a deal, he stepped up and played very well, and he got paid, and now it's time. I think a lot of these quarterbacks, obviously you're always trying to win, but in that first contract, it's how do I make sure that I get my second contract solidified? Because you can make so much money as an NFL quarterback. And, I feel like there's probably that extra pressure of, well, there's contract negotiations and discussions and all this and that. And now all that's done, only focus on football. The money's already taken care of itself. So we'll see how that all plays out this year. But they paid Jalen Waddle, this offseason as well. They still got Tyreek. So I think, like you said, that offense is going to be pretty good.
Yes.
Another offense that I think is going to be pretty good. We'll talk more about this whole team on today's episode. But Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers gets paid. He gets a 4-year, $220 million contract, and it puts him, I believe, tied on the average annual salary at number 1 in the NFL with Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow.
Kind of surprising, right? But so here's the thing is this is on Green Bay. Last year, they didn't know for sure what they had, and they did that little 1-year deal, kind of like a rookie 20, I think it was like 20 million. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then they bet that, Jordan Love basically bet on himself, and it started off slow. I work with a guy, like a diehard Green Bay guy. We'd talk and he's like, I'm just not sure about him. I'm not sure he's the guy. but at least every game that I watched, he would make like 3 or 4 throws where I was like, holy crap, like it's in there. Like there's something there. That's a hell of a throw. And then the last, I would say like 8 games, he kind of just lit fire. Yeah. He played well. It's risky, right? It's a risky move, but it's a move that Green Bay kind of had to do. But yeah, 8 games can get you a lot of money.
Yeah, it definitely can. And to be fair, though, I think that his entire season, in total, as a whole, I think it was a better season than any one season that Trevor Lawrence has ever put together. We talked about on this show when Trevor Lawrence got paid, we said, I get it. You want to lock up the guy you believe is your franchise guy, but statistically, production on the field just really hasn't been upper echelon whatsoever. And then, Joe Burrow, obviously regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, really has had like one totally solid season, another one that was pretty good, and the other 2 both ended in injury. So really, Jordan Love showed enough for the Green Bay to say, okay, we drafted you first round, we set you behind a Hall of Famer, we're ready to lock and load with you and roll into the future. So it's a good move for Green Bay. It's not like they have a ton of other young pieces that they have to pay in the next year or 2 anyway. All their wide receivers are like, first, second, third year guys. Yeah, young guys, and they got a ton of them. So, yeah, they're kind of in a really nice spot. And I think Green Bay, maybe we'll just go ahead and roll right into our NFC North breakdown. Was there any other news you wanted to break down?
No,
or anything?
That's fine, man. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, I guess one thing real quick as a side note, if you're looking at Roman Wilson and the rookie wide receiver for the Steelers in any of your drafts this year, pay attention to the news cycle because he was carted off the practice field today with an ankle injury. So there's that. I'm trying to think if there's any other big relevant like fantasy impactful news, injuries or anything. Not that I can think of.
No, just like I've seen some day-to-day stuff, but nothing like that's really affected anything big time yet.
Yeah, Ricky Pearsall's off PUP. He's back practicing now with the 49ers, their first round pick. Just pay attention to
Cowling, same rookie.
Yep.
He's also, I saw like 10 days. He's pretty much out. They were thinking.
Chris Olave left today with a hip injury, but I guess it was toward the end of the session. So not really sure if he didn't come back because of the injury or just because the day was pretty much over.
Day's over. Yeah.
So just pay attention. There's a lot of hype, a lot of these highlight videos. If you're seeing the same highlight video of one guy getting posted over and over and over, just take it with a grain of salt, because if a guy was really putting up massive highlights at camp, you'd see multiple videos of that guy getting posted and shared. But if it's just like one, like last year, there was like one video of Jameson Williams, and it was just repeated over and over. And well, we know how that played out. So
I'm still waiting.
Well, we'll talk about him today too.
We will. Yes. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start in Green Bay.
Okay.
Packers obviously pretty good last year. It seems to be clicking, working out pretty well. Matt LaFleur, I really do like him as a head coach. I think he's a good offensive mind. His teams are always, except for just one season now, they're always good.
In it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're solid.
So, start at quarterback. Jordan Love. Fantasy football, you in, you out.
I would say I'm in. I guess it just depends on where I'm at and who's available. But I would say, depending, or we're just doing standard one quarterback, right?
We can talk him in terms of both.
In a super flex, yeah. If he's one of my quarterbacks, I'm excited. You know what I mean? Because I think I would expect him to be a first round guy this year. At least in a super flex league, I think he's off in the first 12 picks as, a top 12 quarterback. But yeah, if he's available, give me him. He's got a lot of, like we've said, young weapons. I guess we will segue into, some of those later. But I like Jordan Reed.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, sorry. Oh God, change that up. Yeah, Jesus, okay. God, Jordan Reed hasn't been around in.
No, it's been a minute.
Good Lord, were we talking about fantasy tight ends? Or,
yeah, right. No? from years past. Jordan Love. Yeah, I honestly, so right now it looks like he's redraft QB 10. He's going off the board like right after Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott ahead of Brock Purdy, Jaden Daniels, and Tua. And if I'm playing that game of I want a couple receivers early, I'm going to grab, maybe I'm swinging on the top tier, like the top 5 tight ends. I want to make sure I get one of those guys and call it good. And, depending on what round you're in, if some of these guys are starting to go, I am 100% okay Jordan Love as my, my QB 1 essentially, and a 1 quarterback. Yeah. And honestly, in a super flex, you're going to try to take a quarterback in the first round. And I think in a super flex league, like you said, he's probably going first round, early second, if not.
Right.
Just depends on how people in your league are prioritizing, the quarterback position. But I think he's a good bet. I really do. I think he's going to have a good season. He showed last year that he can play. He can definitely play, and they've got the weapons in the offense, to help him be even more successful. So I think it all works. What do you think about running back?
So I like Josh Jacobs. I'm just not 100% sure coming into this year. Like he had that huge workload year with the Raiders. Yeah, looked like an RB1, like a legit top of the class RB1, and then injuries kind of piled up. I don't think he was 100% happy with the contract situation and getting franchise tagged. I think that kind of played into it. But it looks like he's going to get a healthy workload in Green Bay. On paper, I like it. I like it a lot because you're getting a 3-down back, or with all these pieces around him, young pieces too. I think he'll slide probably, maybe depending on the league, like super flex or standard. But to me, he's an RB1. He has the potential for sure to be an RB1.
We saw Aaron Jones be an RB1 in, this Packers offense for years now. What is Josh Jacobs going to be as efficient and explosive as Aaron Jones was? That's the thing, because, like you said, Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing, and then the following season, which was last year, it was like one of the most inefficient running backs in the entire league. It was really, really bad. And, if you drafted him last year, you were disappointed. And the thing with Green Bay running backs, I just want to caution everybody, is, Matt LaFleur does use a committee. Aaron Jones has never had the entire work, even though he's a 3-down skill set. He's never had that role. It's always been A.J. Dillon, even though he's been inefficient and ineffective a lot of times. They still use him. And now they bring in Marshawn Lloyd, rookie out of USC, and I think that he's got some juice. He's got some buzz around him at camp. He had some fumbling issues in college, but guys can clean that up. And if he's able to hold on to the ball, and I think he's easily ahead of A.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
So, me personally, I'm kind of out on Josh Jacobs this year, just where he's going and what I expect out of that Green Bay running game. Because if you look at ADPs, like Josh Jacobs is going like right behind Joe Mixon. I'd honestly rather have Joe Mixon. I think that he could have a much bigger workload and just an all-around bigger season in Houston. He's going ahead of Kenneth Walker. We'll get to that when we get to that division. James Cook, Rachaad White are both going after Josh Jacobs. I think I'd rather have both of them. Just with I don't know. They've got like the guaranteed workload kind of thing. James Conner a little bit later.
Yeah, give me James Conner.
And James Conner's RB 18, and Jacobs is all the way up at 13. And Ramondre Stevenson is down at 20. And there's Aaron Jones at 21. So I don't know. I find myself more out on Josh Jacobs this year in a redraft league.
Yeah. Okay.
But let's see. Wide receivers.
Yes.
Pick one. I don't know. They got like 5.
Jaden Reed.
All right, do you think is that wide receiver 1 for them?
It's either between him or Christian Watson's very, very good. He just seems like his hamstring is made out of glass. But
hey, supposedly got that figured out this offseason.
Yeah, he's if he can stay on the field, there's nothing for him to splash a 3 touchdown game up. A lot of people are really high on is it Dontavian Wicks?
Dontavian Wicks,
Yep, Dontavian Wicks, and then they also is it Bo Melton? Kid that came on late last year. I'm now in like redraft. A lot of these guys are not. You're talking about
no to Bo,
Jaden Reed, You're talking about Christian Watson.
You're also, I mean, don't forget Romeo Doubs.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that he's going to get drafted and redrafted. And Dontavia Wicks will get redrafted as well.
Right.
So they've got 4 guys, and that's just one thing you got to think of. Plus, Luke Musgrave is going to get targets at the tight end position. We already talked about the running backs getting targets. So Green Bay's an offense I want a piece of. I just don't know what piece, but I'm going to take a piece at some point, and I would probably just take the best value on a piece. I do think Christian Watson presents like league-winning upside if he stays healthy. That's a big if with him right now. But man, the dude is so talented. It's pretty insane. I'm trying to find where he's at in the ADP here.
If he played like an alpha
40.
and could stay on the... Go ahead. Sorry, man.
Oh, he's wide receiver 40.
Yeah. If he could stay on the field, athletically, you're getting a number 1.
All right. Here's what I'm going to tell everybody watching this. Here's my advice. If you go all of training camp in preseason and we're in that week when you're drafting and everything, and there has not been any injury reports for Christian Watson in training camp about his hamstring, if he hasn't had to miss a day here or there with a hamstring, whatever, draft him. Yeah, if he's had a hamstring injury in camp, you might want to stay away.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fair.
But at wide receiver 40, I'm probably taking him where I can.
Wide receiver 40 is crazy.
Yeah. Because man, if he's on the field. And Jaden Reed's up at 32.
I think it's just, which going into last year, I would have said Christian Watson's the value, Yeah. Jaden Reed too, or he's got all the little skill. He's like the Swiss Army knife.
Debo
they like using him out of the backfield. They, obviously he's a talented receiver. But yeah, I would say both those guys, I'm very okay with.
Yeah, for sure. One thing for everybody to keep in mind about Jaden Reed. I heard a stat. I think last year, out of all the 3, when the Packers ran 3 wide receiver sets, he was only on the field for. Or no, I'm sorry. He was only on the field for 2 plays when they did not run 3 wide receiver sets. So he was strictly a third wide receiver, like a slot guy. If they were running 2 wide receiver sets, it was Watson and Doubs or Doubs and Wicks.
Okay. Yep.
So I think there were only 2 snaps on the entire season where he actually was on the field in 2 wide receiver sets. Just something to keep in mind. Doesn't mean it's going to be that way this year, but that's how it fell last year. But
yeah,
trying to find Romeo Doubs. He's clear down at 57, wide receiver 57. He's around the
not even
Josh Palmer, Gabe Davis, Jerry Jeudy range. I'm fine taking a stab at him for that. And then Dontavian Wicks is even further. So he's the last one at 63, down by Adonai Mitchell, Michael Wilson, Jahan Dotson. So, and those are guys you're kind of taking upside swings on anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know if that helps anybody out there, but I think that basically in wide receiver conversations, Christian Watson, he definitely has that league-winning potential. And Jaden Reed could be a very nice piece, too, for your team, like a consistent every-week starter.
Yep.
But you just have to invest.
Flex guy.
Yeah, you got to invest in him a little higher. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Tight ends, Luke Musgrave had a pretty decent rookie season. He missed some games with injury, but I think that, had he not, he might have been talked a little bit more in circles with, Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta as these awesome rookie tight ends. But,
right.
And then when Tucker Kraft came in, he was the other rookie tight end last year. Whenever he came in and was the primary guy when, why did I just lose his name? Musgrave was out. Tucker Kraft was balling out. He was getting 8 to 10 or higher points a game, it seemed like. So the thing is, they got both of these guys. Tucker Kraft's out right now with a bicep injury or something.
I don't even know, dog.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I would. Tight end for me is so. I don't think I'm taking either of those guys.
Okay.
Maybe Musgrave, but if that's that's like a depth piece, like bench. If I can slide him, I'm trying to go a little stronger than that at tight end.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. I would not be waiting around saying, well, Luke Musgrave is my tight end 1.
Yes, he's the guy. He's the guy that's going to bring this. we might regret saying that, but
he might be a good piece if you end up taking like a David Njoku early, just because again, with Deshaun Watson, we talked about it last week. His output was lower, but that was also early in the season. They were using him more in the running game, the blocking, all that kind of stuff. So who knows over the course of the season how things would have played out between those two. In camp, things are on fire right now in terms of David Njoku. Yeah. So if you take him, but then you want to kind of pad it a little bit, maybe take an upside shot on Luke Musgrave late. Tucker Kraft, leave him on the waivers and just keep an eye on him. I think he's on PUP right now anyway, so we'll see when he comes back. Okay, well, anything else with the Packers?
I think Packers are good.
Packers are good. Packers are good. Let's talk about the other. Wow, this is actually a really interesting division. Yes. It has turned in the North all around the NFL has turned really good, but we'll talk about the best team in the North from last year, which was the Detroit Lions. This episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Dog Pack, the summer is in full swing, and you guys know what that means. Omaha Steaks annual Hotter Than Fire sale. Go to omahasteaks.com right now, and for a limited time, you guys can get big savings on great packages from Omaha Steaks for just $99. Plus, you guys can get an extra $10 off that order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, at checkout. So these packages with that promo code are essentially $89. From exquisite steaks to legendary burgers, the premium pork, the air-chilled chicken, the meatballs, the chicken wings, the appetizers, the ready-to-eat meals, the wine, everything that Omaha Steaks has to offer. Head over there today, check it out. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale to get these exclusive savings on the mouth-watering packages that start at just $99 plus. Use that code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out for an extra $10 off your order. But hurry, because this sale is only available for a limited time. Summer always flies by, and this deal is going to fly by, so you're not going to want to miss it. Go shop today, omahasteaks.com. Use promo code DAWGS at checkout for an extra $10 off your order. The Detroit Lions.
Okay.
And is it Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator?
Yes.
Looking for, he's getting head coaching job offers and stuff this offseason, and turned him down, went back to coach under Dan Campbell and to keep with that offensive coordinator position there. And this offense was so explosive and fun to watch last year. It's going to be even better this year.
Yep. Well-oiled machine, man. Really like a fun offense, especially like how Detroit was for so long. They were, as I was a Browns fan, I like seeing Detroit be a good football team. They went through some very, very tough years, as far as their fans. So
absolutely,
the fact that they're, and they made it to an NFC Championship game last year, like very close to going to a Super Bowl. It's very exciting for them.
Yeah, I mean the 2 0-16 Great Lake teams. And
yes,
we're both in the north of our, respective conference. So here we go. So Jared Goff just got paid. We talked about that earlier this season. He got paid, what was it, 3-year extension, I think? Something like that. And I mean, he's locked in there. He has been really, really good for them ever since they made that trade with the Rams. And like ADP wise, he is going behind like Tua that I just mentioned when we talked about Jordan Love. And then he's going ahead of guys like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. So would you take Jared Goff ahead of either of those guys?
Not Justin Herbert.
Okay. So you're still in on Herbert, even with the run heavy, Jim Harbaugh, all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm still in on Justin Herbert. This isn't a knock against Jared Goff, because I don't want to do him like this, but I'm taking Tua probably just based on the upside. And then who's the other guy? Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
Give me Goff over Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on the Goff over Lawrence. I'm definitely with you on Herbert over Goff. Like I would wait, because Goff is QB 14 and Herbert right now is QB 17. I would wait because I do think that the Chargers, they can say they want to run and play defense all they want, but I think the defense is going to be probably not as great as they want it to be this year. And it's the NFL. You got to throw the ball, at some point anyway. So I think Justin Herbert's going to be better than people think. And so those were really the names I wanted to talk about in terms of Jared Goff. And we know that, He gets to play, I forget what the stat was. I think like all but 2 of his games this season, the Lions play in dome.
In domes, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we know that when Jared Goff plays in a dome, he's pretty damn good, especially if it's the home dome. So I have no problem if you're, if you miss out on like the top tier, a couple tiers of quarterbacks, and
he's consistent.
Exactly.
You're going to get consistent scoring from Jared Goff. You're going to get.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, let me ask you about this. If, cause we'll talk about him next. If you draft Amon-Ra St. Brown in the first round,
okay,
and he's your wide receiver 1, you get him at the 4 or 5 spot or whatever in your draft,
sure,
6 spot. Are you then targeting a later Jared Goff when you get to that point in the draft to try to make that stack?
Right. I guess it just depends on, like for me, who's available and kind of how you value quarterback. Me personally, I value quarterback very high. I don't know if it's just because of like the super flex thing, or even if it's a regular standard draft. If there's a guy there that I want, especially in those top 3, anywhere in the top 4 to 5 guys, if I can get them on my team, give me that. Obviously you can get great value at wide receiver and running back and pretty much fill all your other spots. But this obviously their stack is nice, like the Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown stack, but I wouldn't necessarily go for it.
Gotcha.
Just based on that.
So if it falls to you, sweet, you got that stack.
Yeah,
but not like pigeonholing yourself into.
I'm not putting emphasis on it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a little bit different than you in terms like last year I was more, give me Jalen Hurts, give me one of these top guys. I want an elite quarterback. This year, I feel like the quarterback position is pretty deep. I feel like we've got a lot of good players to pick from. If I'm getting Justin Herbert at QB 17, then I might just load up on my wide receivers and my running backs.
Sure.
And grab like a Justin Herbert, Geno Smith type of situation and just hope that, that Washington offense comes to fruition in Seattle. But I guess we'll do wide receivers before running backs this time for the Lions. So we've mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Stud.
Where are you taking him? Let's see, what did I say? I said, the 5 or 6. So you got CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown. Are you taking all 4 of those guys ahead of Amon-Ra?
Yeah. And that's no disrespect. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown in a decent amount of leagues. I love the guy. If he's out there, you're getting points. I mean, he is a target monster.
This is true.
But the guys that you're talking about ahead of him, I mean, we're talking, and he's in that conversation. You know what I mean? He's right there. I would put him in a tier 1. I just think that the upside of some of those other guys, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, like you almost expect those guys to go for 40. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Amon-Ra St. Brown can't do that, but for me, I look at him and I go, I know I'm in 20. I'm getting 20 out of him, but just the upside of those other guys.
I think for me, and maybe for a lot of people, where it starts to become what do you want to do with your roster build kind of thing is when it gets to Justin Jefferson, just because of the quarterback situation. Amon-Ra's got a locked in QB1. I mean, his team's QB1 that they've got the rapport, the chemistry. Yeah. Yes, it works. He is the number 1 target for that quarterback. And it's like, hey, now you got Justin Jefferson coming in. It's going to be Sam Darnold probably, and then they're going to switch at some point to J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you kind of have to make that decision what you feel more comfortable with. But I mean, if you're taking one of those top 5 receivers, you're getting a great player.
If he falls to you, you know what I mean? Like, because that's how I see him falling. You're still getting a legit alpha wide receiver 1, like lock it in, set it. You're good. If he's playing, you're good.
Yes, absolutely. And, after Amon-Ra St. Brown, what are we talking about in terms of receivers? I mean, Jameson Williams.
Yeah, still waiting on now. Like all the reports, all the coach speak, everything this year has been Jameson Williams. This is it. Like wheels up. He looks explosive. He looks great. I drafted him in almost all my dynasty leagues that year, and I'm still sitting on him, still waiting. Now I do think he's super talented. It's just, can we put it all together? I just feel like it's always like, an injury, or then he had the gambling thing.
Yeah.
There is a target share there, that somebody needs to occupy, and they started using him differently, started using him in the run game, all that. But in redraft, I mean, I guess if you take him, I don't want to say he's a dart throw, but
I'll say if he's a freaking dart throw, man. Like,
okay, all right.
The guy's had 5 catches his entire career. I don't know what it really is. I know he had one as a rookie or whatever, but I mean, you are talking about 4th in the pecking order at best, because you got Amon-Ra, you got Sam Laporta, who we'll talk about next. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep.
I mean, those 3 are going to get theirs before anything comes to another. I mean, and then the other wide receivers, don't draft any of these guys, anybody out there. But just to mention them, they've got Traquan Smith, they've got Khalif Raymond, they've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Tom Kennedy, whoever that is. I mean, they've got,
he's a Kennedy.
Yeah, he's a Kennedy. They got some other guys there. I mean, I think that after you get past those first targets in this offense, the target share pie piece that's left over is not going to be very big, and it's going to get split amongst the rest of these receivers, kind of whoever the second or third read was on that play. There's going to be a couple plays drawn up for Jameson Williams, but again, are you sticking him into your flex spot on a weekly basis, just hoping he gets that one big play? Otherwise, you're walking out with 1 or 2 points or something stupid that's going to...
that.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a big old goose.
Big old goose. I've had him.
He pretty much has been a big old goose since he's gotten in the league. So it sucks because I think he's got talent. I think he was, really, really highly regarded coming out of college, but it just has not worked. And
are you drafting him?
I'm not. I'm not even throwing that dart. But I don't know. What about? Are you?
I mean, probably not. Honestly, I guess if I can stash him, on my bench, but. Like you said, for me, especially just rolling him out week 1, if he's in your starting lineup, we probably didn't do that great. I could be completely wrong, but
let's do this. Let's talk about Jameson Williams right now is going as wide receiver 45. Looking at the names around him, there is a 0.00% chance that I will draft him in any leagues. And here's why.
All right. Fire these names off.
He is going after Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Cortland Sutton, who I don't want Cortland Sutton probably anyway, but Rome Odunze, and he's going ahead of Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas, Tyler Lockett, Rashid Shaheed, Keon Coleman, Jacoby Myers. I would take all those guys over Jameson Williams because I know I'm going to get at least a good flex player out of it.
Well, a lot of those guys, some of especially the rookies, it's kind of the same proven track record. You don't know what you're going to get. So like a Ladd McConkey, based on the reports coming out. Yeah. Give me that. All day.
Give me Brian Thomas over him. Brian Thomas profiles as a similar kind of being used in a similar manner, but there's really no established, pecking order, I guess, in Jacksonville, the way that it is in Detroit. Right. That pecking order is established.
Yeah. So avoid Jameson Williams.
That's my advice. Unless
you have him in all your dynasty leagues.
Yeah, then try to find somebody who still believes and offload him. That's what I did. All right, so let's move over to tight end. Here we go. Tight end numero uno, Sam Laporta. He was the tight end 1 last year as a rookie. You do not see rookie tight ends do what he did last year. So it was pretty impressive. Yeah. Happy to see it. And are you drafting him? Because you're going to have to take him round 2 or 3, probably. He's not a round 1 tight end. It's not a Travis Kelce situation, but you are going to have to take him over some really, really good players.
And that's the thing that's tough is for me, I just don't think I value tight end like that.
I'm with you.
Unless he kind of just falls to me and it just seems, but some of the guys that are going to be going around him as far as in ADP, I can't do it. I can't. And I expect him to be successful again. I don't know how you feel about him, but I think there's a role there on that team and in that offense for him. It's just, I just don't value it enough, man.
I don't either, especially in redraft. Now in Dynasty, it depends. It depends on what you want to do. There's just some really good young tight ends right now that you could swing on. You don't have to invest such a high pick on Sam Laporta unless you really want him. Mm-hmm. But Redraft? No, I'm not doing it. I'm not pulling the trigger on the tight end 1 off the board just because I think, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Trey McBride. I'm not going to, not George Kittle, not Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid. I mean, there's guys. Evan Ingram. There's guys after him that could finish as tight end 1, depending on how the season shakes out, in my opinion. Now, George Kittle, I say no because I think he's too inconsistent. He's not used enough in that offense as a pass catcher strictly. Kyle Pitts, we just don't know. I mean, I guess the potential's there if you want to try it again. But there's like you said, Evan Ingram, Mr. Reliable. He's clear down at tight end 10. I mean, David Njoku's tight end 9, Jake Ferguson, tight end 8. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Those are kind of more of the names where while I'm drafting, those are the names I'm looking at Jake Ferguson, in that Dallas offense.
I'm looking at Dalton Kincaid.
Absolutely.
Could be the number 1.
Yeah. I just kind of, for me, like how the board falls. Yeah. But I don't put enough emphasis on tight end unless it's Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, I'm like, Yeah,
there were a couple years there where, made sense. Yep. So that's kind of where I'm at as well. I don't think there's really anybody else to talk about in Detroit. Let's shift over to Minnesota. Okay. The last 2 teams have rookie quarterbacks this year, so we'll talk about them. Minnesota, obviously they lost Kirk Cousins to the Achilles tear last year, moved on to Atlanta this offseason. But they were really successful last year when they brought in Josh Dobbs and Jaron Hall and was it Nick Mullins?
Mullins, yeah.
They just rolled quarterbacks out there, whoever it was, and Kevin O'Connell's, throw the ball, just chuck it, just rack it up. They were turning the ball over like crazy, throwing a lot of interceptions because they're not very good quarterbacks, but they were throwing a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. They were still scoring points. So, Sam Darnold, I think is, he's a step up from those guys. And I think that JJ McCarthy can be okay down the stretch. Mm-hmm. So I'm not as hesitant with this offense as some people are.
Yeah. So in redraft, I'm avoiding probably both those guys, but in Dynasty, I think there's some value in Sam Darnold, at least at the beginning of the year, like a nice guy that you could probably just pick up, you would think, unless guys are just stashing him like that. Right. But you think you'd have a starter for, 4 to 6 games until JJ is ready. But I'm probably avoiding both those guys. Just better proven value out there.
Yeah, I think that in a super flex redraft league, if you want to grab JJ real late and throw him on your bench as your third guy, I'm cool with that because I think by the time you might need that third quarterback, bye weeks and injuries and things like that, you'll be later in the season anyway, hopefully. And, by then I think he will be starting. I forget what their opening schedule is. I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's a gauntlet of really, really tough defenses. So there's a lot of speculation that Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback to at least get them through that tough period. And I think they have a bye. So it's like lining up real nice where JJ could be the guy after the bye.
Coming out. Yeah.
So that's kind of my expectation. But I think Justin Jefferson's going to be okay.
Yeah. No, I don't worry about Justin Jefferson and especially like Darnold. Like you saw him still get his last year.
He was over 1,000 yards and he missed how many games with that hamstring injury?
A lot. It was a lot. I thought he only played in like 8 or 9 games and he's still, I think what you're getting with Justin Jefferson as long as he's healthy. Like he's a guy I'd love to have on my team. Any team I can get him on, just his upside is crazy and he's still so young.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we don't need to talk too much about him, but what are you doing with Jordan Addison?
Yeah, man, with Jordan Addison, he's one of those guys. He's going to be the 2, the wide receiver 2, and a guy that when he had to step in and fill the shoes for Justin Jefferson looked every bit of the part. I just have concerns at quarterback as far as, with Justin Jefferson, I'm not as worried at all. Just with Jordan Addison, it seems it's not a dart throw, but it makes me a little uneasy. I think there could be some inconsistent games.
I think that he got a lot, he had a good fantasy output overall in his rookie season last year, but I think a lot of that came on high touchdown volume. Obviously, a lot of that was due to Justin Jefferson not being there. TJ Hawkinson was out for part of the, the end of the year there. So will Jordan Addison retain that high touchdown volume? I doubt it, especially with rookie quarterback. We know that rookie quarterbacks A lot of times they can't even support a wide receiver 1 on their team in fantasy football. Mm-hmm. They don't hardly ever support 2. So right. Jordan Addison, I mean, obviously you're expecting, if you take him, you're like, okay, he might be my wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. I would never take him as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, maybe, but he's going right behind DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, Xavier Worthy, and he's going ahead of Cortland Sutton, Rome Odunze, Jamison Williams, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ladd McConkey.
Give me Ladd McConkey.
I'm with you.
Ladd McConkey, DeAndre Hopkins, I would think would probably be a better bet. Christian Watson, coming back up again. And honestly, I'm pretty, depending on what happens at quarterback, Cortland Sutton might be, I know you're not huge on him, but if they can figure out the quarterback, he is the number 1. He's the alpha on the team. So you would think he could be, give me him over Jordan Addison.
I think the Denver does have the quarterback figured out, and we'll talk about that on the AFC West, but just a little spoiler there. I don't know if I've mentioned that at all or not, but I'm kind of in on Bo Nix. But anyway.
Bo Nix, yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Addison, and then he had the off-field driving incident, DUI stuff this offseason. So is he going to get suspended? Just, you got to pay attention with him. And a lot of times we see these knucklehead young wide receivers, either rookies or second-year guys get these stupid off-the-field things, and then the season doesn't usually pan out very well for them.
Right.
Whether they get suspended or they're just distracted, or I don't know. So it's like a sign of their maturity level, which is unfortunate for them. But so I'm kind of with you. I mean, I'll draft him if the value is right. Like, he's got to fall. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm with you. I'll take Ladd McConkey. I'll take Brian Thomas Jr. over Jordan Addison. I'll take JSN, take another shot at him over him. So, yeah, I'm kind of out. Tight end, there's really no other wide receivers of note to talk about. You're not drafting and redraft any other receivers for the Vikings. Tight end is TJ Hawkinson, who's on PUP, ACL tear last year. He's not expected to be available for probably the first handful of games this season. We'll see when he actually does get back. He's he's going off the board at tight end 16, so he's obviously dropped down in redraft, which makes sense. You can't use him. You gotta, if you draft him, like, you gotta have somebody else. But he's kind of one of my favorite targets to draft, throw on my IR immediately when the draft is over, and pick somebody else up.
Go get, Josh Oliver or Jonathan Munt, whoever, however that shakes up, because you got to think that those guys will probably be available.
They'll be available. Will they be fantasy relevant?
Not like TJ Hawkinson.
Right.
TJ, I like your idea with just the stash and sit it and then either play a different tight end or use one of those guys. I mean, if it depends on how long he's out for. If you're trying to figure out tight end for 6 weeks, join the club. We're all here. We're all doing that. But no, when he does come back, you make the argument you have a top 5 tight end.
Right. As long as he's not, limited. We know some of these guys with these ACLs and things like that, it does take them. They don't have like the same explosion and burst and all that kind of stuff when they first get back. So we'll see. I mean, I would definitely be I'd be pairing him up with somebody else. But yeah, I like the idea of drafting, putting him on IR, grabbing somebody else.
Yep. Just depends on the value, the ADP. I don't think we talked about running back either.
We were about ready to move on. No, we didn't. Go ahead.
No, I just, I'm a fan of Aaron Jones. I'm just curious to see what his usage is going to be like. I think there's going to be a little bit of committee. Ty Chandler showed last year that, they kind of trusted him. I wouldn't be surprised if those two, it's, some type of committee, shared backfield, but, I love Aaron Jones. Especially his pass catching. Yeah. Depending on where he falls to, because I don't think his value is going to drop, huge value where you're going to be able to get him 3 or 4 rounds later. No, I agree with you on that. I'm in on Aaron Jones this year as an RB2, especially if you're going 0 RB strategy and you want a whole bunch of receivers and, a top end tight end and all that kind of stuff.
kind of wait for the board to fall, grab Aaron Jones late. Because I do think with his pass catching, he can be still very fantasy relevant. He never had a full workload in Green Bay. We already talked about that this episode. So, I mean, if he's splitting time with other backs there, I don't think it's that big a deal. I think he can still get it done. We saw at the end of last season and into the playoffs, the dude's got juice still.
Still got it.
There was no drop off. It wasn't like, oh yeah, he's cooked like Dalvin Cook. We saw the drop off. Didn't see that for Aaron Jones. So I think that this can still be a very good fantasy season for him. Maybe not what you're used to with him. He's not. Don't take him as your RB1 and expect what he used to do.
Right.
But as a good, second or third piece in a running back build, 100%.
Yep. And the big thing with him is just the health. If he can stay on the field, he kind of. I mean, 2 years ago he was a stud, and I think just last year, just the knee issue, he kind of struggled to stay on the field and get on the field, from the beginning of the season. But I'm very big on Aaron Jones. Count me in on it. But like you said, I agree. If that's your RB1, that's your 100%. That's your go getter running back. Might see some inconsistency.
Yes. So I mean, if you are waiting and he's the first running back you grab, just make sure you're getting other guys, enough other guys with upside that you can rotate through if he's not producing or he's splitting more work than you thought or whatever. So we'll see how it plays out. But I do still believe in him. And talking about believing in guys, we'll move on to the Chicago Bears. And last team in the NFC North to talk about. Do you believe in Caleb Williams as a rookie this season? Because the rest of the fantasy pieces are going to be big time impacted by that. This episode is brought to you by Bodden Sports. Bodden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Bodden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Bodden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Bodden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Bodden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Bodden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard games section of Bodden's website where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Bodden Sports, BADEN Sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BoddenSports.com/dogs.
I mean, I think he's good enough, and he's athletic enough to go out there and he's going to, would it shock me at the end of the year if he was like a fringe QB1? No, I mean, he's got Keenan Allen. DJ Moore was a wide receiver 1 last year. And I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Rome Odunze. I think Rome Odunze could be the argument all fantasy offseason was he might be in that tier with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. I think that's their core offense is crazy good. The only thing is the transition. I think the college, the pro, the speed of the game, all that, you see a lot of rookies kind of struggle to kind of get it and figure it out. I'm not taking him, you know what I mean? Unless, it's dynasty or something like that. But if it's redraft, I'm probably holding off.
What about Superflex? Redraft.
Where's he going at? Is it
QB 15? 12? He's going after Tua, Jared Goff. He's going right ahead of Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins.
I'm probably wanting those guys. I'm wanting most of those guys. Like the comp is always Patrick Mahomes. That's what all I heard off season was the comp was this guy's Patrick Mahomes light, and if you look at what it was around him, the idea of him going crazy isn't that wild. It's just, I don't think it's a path for success as far as fantasy. I need more. I like consistency. If I know you can do it and you do it year after year after year, that's great. I'm not huge on rookie quarterbacks in redraft.
I'm with you. I mean, the one QB leagues, especially if you want to take Caleb Williams, obviously you have to take him earlier than these other guys, but I would make sure I'm grabbing Kirk Cousins or Matthew Stafford a little later, just probably to start the season, because you don't know what you're going to get out of Caleb. Maybe you wait a little bit later, you grab Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield or something, and you feel a little more comfortable knowing, okay, I've got a guy that I know is going to be a QB2 probably until I see what I get with Caleb, but you'll have to draft them in reverse.
Right. Yep.
Another guy that if you want to take Caleb, grab Deshaun Watson later. We talked about that last episode. Yep. Yeah, for a lot of these younger guys that are Jaden Daniels, he's even higher up than Caleb Williams. If you want to grab a young rookie quarterback, take one of these other veteran guys later and know that, well, at least I know I have somebody I can put in there and he's not going to totally bomb my team. Not saying Caleb's going to do that, but hey, he's a rookie. You just don't know.
Exactly. Yep.
Might as well do the wide receivers next, because his weapons, like you said, whew, man, crazy. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, all wide receiver ones on different teams if they weren't all on the same team.
That's completely fair.
He's got 3.
I completely agree with you.
Like you said, 3 alphas. So what do you do? I mean, we know, like I said with JJ, rookie quarterbacks, it's tough for them to support one wide receiver 1, let alone 2. No one supports 3.
Right.
So, I mean, DJ Moore's being drafted. He's the first one, wide receiver 18. DJ Moore, he's going ahead of Jalen Waddle, Amari Cooper, Devontae Smith, Cooper Kupp, George Pickens. Taking those guys over DJ Moore?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay. It's tough. I mean, Jalen Waddle, it'd be hard for me to go DJ Moore over him. Amari Cooper's the clear-cut 1 on his team and a stud.
Yep.
Devontae Smith, stud.
Yep.
It is. And these guys don't have rookie quarterbacks. That's the other thing you got to look at with it.
And he's the first wide receiver off the board for Chicago?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I'm curious. I would think if I was going to pick a guy
who do you think's
out
next?
of that wide, I would think Keenan Allen, but you were saying it to me like it's Rome Odunze.
It is Keenan Allen.
Okay.
It is Keenan Allen. Go ahead.
He's the guy I would take too.
Okay.
Out of those 3, I would, you know what I mean? Like Keenan Allen, if it's still there and there's still tread on the tire, he looked damn good last year and he looked very, very good for a long time now.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, DJ Moore, like I said, you got to take him in the top 20s, wide receiver 18. Keenan Allen's to me, like you said, he's the smart pick. He's wide receiver 34.
Yeah.
Now you got to take him over guys like Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins. I'm kind of okay with that.
I'm okay with everybody except for who's the second name you fired off there? Sorry.
Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin. That's the only one where I'm like, okay, that's.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now we're talking. But honestly, like, I still give me Keenan Allen over Chris Godwin.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, Rome Odunze, we mentioned him a couple of times because he's down here at wide receiver 44. And he's in that Jordan Addison, Cortland Sutton, Jamison Williams, JSN, Ladd McConkey range.
So, I mean, I think Ladd McConkey's going to end up being a wide receiver 1, like a high upside. I don't know if he finishes like in that top 12.
I think top 15 could be his ceiling.
I think he'll be in the discussion at the end. Rome Odunze is an injury away from being a problem, like where he's he's winning you a lot of fantasy games. That's the way I look at it. And it could go for any of these guys. I think Keenan Allen's the one, you know, and we'll see how training camp shakes out and how the targets are getting shared around. But yeah, any of those guys are an injury away from being fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
You know, one of those guys is going to get left off. I'm not sure who it is, but I mean, I like all those guys, but especially Keenan Allen.
With situations like this one in Chicago, I'm with you. I'm looking for the value. You know, I'm not swinging on DJ Moore. Although I really love DJ Moore. I think he's one of the best, at wide receiver specifically, like just talking about the position and the skill set. I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the whole league. For fantasy, I think he's always been pretty inconsistent. I think it's going to be even more consistency this year just because of the wealth of options that they've got there. Yeah. So I would definitely, like you said, take the value. And that doesn't necessarily mean the last one available. It just means, where Keenan Allen's going and the players that he's going around, I think he's probably the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can move over to, I guess we'll just hit other pass catchers. Are you taking Cole Kmet anywhere? Tight end?
I like Cole Kmet. I like him as like a bench guy for me.
Tight end 15.
Tight end 15?
Yeah, he's actually right before TJ Hawkinson. So would you take Cole Kmet or would you take TJ Hawkinson and stash him?
Oh man, I'm probably taking TJ Hawkinson. Like to me, his like scenario this year just has like league winner vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like a guy that can come back, and when he's healthy, if he is healthy and explosive still and everything, I mean that's a guy that can win you a league.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, so and again, if we're talking Cole Kmet, now we're talking a fourth pass catching option in an offense. With a bunch of guys, a rookie quarterback. He might have a week or two where he puts up a nice output, but you're never going to know when it's going to be. It's just I just wouldn't mess around with that situation right now personally. And then we'll talk about
DeAndre Swift's going to get some catches for him too. You know what I mean? I think he is going to have scripted plays and catch a lot of dump off stuff. Young quarterback. I think there was good chemistry too last year with Cole Kmet and Justin Fields. I don't know if that was just because he was always kind of able to just be that dump off, like that safety. But I like Cole Kmet. Just a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah, and you mentioned DeAndre Swift, running back, and I just realized we did not talk about David Montgomery for the Lions.
Well, we should.
Just real quick sidebar. I think that you draft him. Because where he's going, I think he has standalone value.
Yes.
RB2 flex. And, if Jahmyr Gibbs were to get hurt or miss any time, David Montgomery is a running back 1.
Yeah.
So I think that there's, low risk, high reward with David Montgomery.
And huge upside just on his goal line work. You know what I mean? He's a guy that last year I drafted and didn't really expect too much out of him. I figured it would be Gibbs and took him as kind of a late flyer. And all he did was I would start him and he'd give me 18. He'd give me, 60 yards, touchdown, maybe a couple catches. And I'm like, yeah, just keep doing this, keep doing this every week.
Yeah. And then we'll shift back to the Bears here. DeAndre Swift, running back 25. He's going after Najee Harris, Zamir White, Raheem Mostert, and he's going ahead of Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson Jr., Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Jonathan Brooks. So you take what's your pulse on DeAndre Swift? Because for me, I was just gonna say for me, it's third team already. It seems like nobody he plays for is like chomping at the bit to keep him. The Lions traded him away. The Eagles were like, meh, we'll just bring in another guy. We don't need you. But the Bears also made him one of the first guys signed in free agency. So I don't know. What do you think?
For me, like, I guess he's super athletic. But the problem with him has always been can't really stay on the field. And then all the years I had him in Detroit, I just felt like I was just like, well, every time he got the ball and it was going to be his time, he'd fumble it, or I just felt like it never came together for him. He's a guy I moved off of, after a couple of years in a lot of leagues. I'm curious. He looked good last year, but Philly had a pretty good offensive line last year. I don't know if, that's part of it. Chicago, obviously not as good an offensive line. They're better than they were, but there's a big difference in, the up front, the battle in the trenches. So we'll see if he can stay healthy. I mean, I like him. I don't know if in that grouping, I don't know if I like the value that much.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, this is another guy that I won't have any DeAndre Swift shares this year. I won't be drafting him anywhere. He's never been efficient in the red zone. Like he's just not a good goal line guy. I mean, last year, how many touchdowns did Jalen Hurts get at the 1? Because DeAndre Swift he would get taken down at the 1. He just can't get in the end zone. Detroit, it was Jamal Williams racking up career high touchdowns. So it just seems like everywhere this guy goes, he just does not really get it done for what, you would hope with his with his skill set and his, what you think his potential is. It's unfortunate, but it's why a guy like Roschon Johnson is interesting to me a little bit later. Yeah. As a bench piece that I'm grabbing late because, if he ends up getting the goal line work and Chicago's not a half bad offense this year, I mean, Roschon could end up being a good flex play for you this year. And if anything were happening to Swift.
Yep. Chicago's David Montgomery.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, there was I feel like the hype was a little higher for Roschon last year coming in as a rookie, but not every rookie running back comes in and is great right away. So maybe, maybe it's just taking this guy a little bit longer. But I thought that, he's a bigger bruising back and he's going as running back 54. So you can just grab him with one of your last picks. Khalil Herbert is running back 51, a little bit ahead of Roschon. Are you taking Khalil Herbert at all? Or are you just kind of, where are you at on him?
No, I'm not in redraft. I have Roschon in Dynasty. Yeah. But I'm kind of with you. And even then, just depending on who's available at the end, I'm probably out on all those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably with you on that too.
But you're one trade or injury away from Roschon being a legit guy, a legit running back option for fantasy.
Right. And Roschon's being drafted in, handcuff range anyway. So at that point, pick your handcuff, just pick your situation. And I think the Bears have a pretty decent situation this year. I think the offense is going to be better. Yeah. And, Swift is one of the more uncertain RB, like lead backs on his team. So, it's not a bad backfield to bet on a backup. Yep. And then again, Roschon, if you see week 1, he comes out and he gets 1 carry and DeAndre Swift has 18, you can probably just drop him and grab somebody else. So figure it out. All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers everybody of relevance, at least in the NFC North. If you guys have anybody we missed, like we talked about last week, just drop in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you completely disagree about any of these players we mentioned, let us know. Drop it in there. We love having these fantasy conversations because so much of it is just speculation and perspective. And, sometimes you had a guy on your team that spurned you and you can't forgive him, and you just hate him for that reason. And, everybody has a different perspective when it comes to these guys in fantasy football. So that's what makes it so much fun for me.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, let's get out of here. Let's let the listeners get out of here. You guys all have a great week. Make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribe here on YouTube, follow the channel on YouTube and on all the social medias and on the audio platforms. We appreciate everybody out there. Fantasy football season's coming up, so get prepped, get ready. Make sure you guys are doing a ton of mock drafts. We're going to keep doing these divisional breakdowns. We'll do some more mock drafts as the month goes on here because we're heading into August. Drafts are coming up. We want to make sure we're doing more of those mocks because it's fun for us. It's fun for you. It's just a good learning tool. So again, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you guys again next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Fantasy Football Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow the podcast on social media at the Dawgs Fantasy.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. We talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter. And most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients. Plus, it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. DangerCoffee.com, code DAWGS.